In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Before we get started with our show today, and we have a very exciting show lined up here in just a minute, I want to take a brief moment and thank all the moms out there. We have Mother's Day coming right up, and I just wanted to let you know that you are loved and appreciated. Often mothers go throughout their day and, probably don't feel like you get enough appreciation for all the different hats you have to wear. So if you haven't heard today, and no one's told you yet, I want to be the first one to tell you Happy Mother's Day, and we just love and appreciate you. So my very exciting guest that we have today is Lisa Garr. So many of you probably know her. She has what's called the Aware Show. She's on Hay House, been on Coast to Coast, and quite a few other stations as well that she's syndicated through. Lisa wrote a book called Becoming Aware, How to Repattern Your Brain and Revitalize Your Life. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, definitely. I've been following your books and your information for some time. It just seemed like a natural fit to have you here.
Well, we're doing the same thing. It's all about spreading the word and having transformational media be at the forefront of people's minds. And you're doing the same exact thing. You're doing the good work. And it was really interesting. I just recently saw Oprah do her Super Soul sessions. And he was taping them out here in Los Angeles. And it was so inspiring to see her say the same things that you probably have been saying and I've been saying about interviewing people in order to get their messages out, in order to transform people. We're all on the same. It's like before we came into this world, where these souls out there going, we're going to do something with transformational media. And we all came down to do the same thing. And I do believe that this is the time where the content that we provide and that we talk about and the guests that we bring on our shows are here all to move forward this world of transformation and healing and increasing and stepping up the vibration of our planet because it needs it right now. So I think we're all here for the same reason. It's really neat to see us all working together like this.
Well, I'm sure we were sitting at the same coffee table when we made the decision to come down.
Right? We were all there together.
Exactly. Like, why not? We'll just do it in different, it's so awesome because there are so many amazing and wonderful people out there. Even if I was to have a show every single day, 4 or 5 hours, you'd never even be able to, hit the tip of the iceberg on that.
Right, and Oprah interviewed, she had 12 people on that day, and I was only familiar with 2 or 3 of them. There were new people that she brought on that are, in order to have gotten to that stage, they probably have been around for a long time, and they were all standing ovations. And there's countless amount of people that have beautiful ideas that execute them into a book or as a coach or something. We're all here. Think about it, to just really, truly bring about transformation in people. It's not just a hobby. I believe we all came in and incarnated at this time, the authors, the speakers, the radio show hosts, the TV show hosts, all of us, in order to help whatever situation is happening right now on our planet. It could be the climate change. It could be, increased crime and death. It could be terrorism. It could be all of that. It's moving. There's a certain segment of our world population moving in one way, and then there's another segment of our world population moving in a way to transform and to heal that. And it just creates balance. It's a big picture view I'm giving you here, but it's really special to be a part of.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, this totally feeds my soul. I love doing this. I love meeting new people that are making huge differences. And some, have started organizations to help other people,
right.
Like the folks at Warrior Hike. I mean, they started this veteran program that's helping combat veterans. I mean, there's like so much out there.
Yes.
There really is.
It all creates a balance, and it's necessary, and it's needed in the world, and it always has been. So it's just, I think, getting a little bit, I don't like to say the word mainstream because that means it's separate than us. I think it's what it means. I think what's happening is that we're moving this into a louder space, more visible space, where people are, of course, because of social media, people are able to experience it. When I started programming 15 or 16 years ago, it was a word of mouth that gained that spread the popularity of the show at the time. And I was on public radio, and there were no commercials, no advertising for your show. It was just people that attracted to the conversation and said, wow, this is on the radio, this is great, let me tell my friends, let me tell my mother, and it really started to gain momentum because of word of mouth. And it's because it's the conversation that everyone's having, but not in such of a media way. And I think it's now finally reached that tipping point where it is in mainstream media. Well, not to use that word, but it's in a bigger way. So, that's what I've been up to for all of this time and you as well. I was just tapped on the shoulder as a soul and said, you're going to come down and bring about and move informational media forward in the world. Go. And I said yes, and that's what I've been up to for 15 years.
Oh, just that? I mean, really? Well, and I know that you've really helped move the conversation in such a forward direction with the guests that you've had and the direction that you've taken your show in. It's just been really an inspiring thing. And so, we hate using the term mainstream media, but we have to have like a reference point to use.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, before when people would talk about, I don't know, like something like near-death experiences, they'd be like, ooh, that's a little woo-woo, don't know about that. But now it's something that's like, okay, there's science behind that,
There are, my goodness. I've interviewed so many great people about it, and, all the way from, ER doctors who have watched people go in and out of life experience in the emergency room, and it's documentable now. Raymond Moody did such an amazing job of it early on as he interviewed thousands and thousands of people who had crossed over and come back again. And that was kind of how I discovered, because when you have an NDE, you don't remember it for a while. It's such a transformative experience that it cracks open every single view of the world that you have. And it's a lot to take in at the time. And, of course, anyone who goes through this usually is in the middle of some type of accident.
Trauma,
Yes, some type of trauma that's happening. So the brain has to deal with the trauma and then remembers in my case, when I had my accident, I was on a mountain bike, and I fell down a really long hill, and I cracked my helmet in 13 places, and it fell off and flew off. And as I was stumbling, and I thought to get up to try to get back on my bike because I don't know why, but that was when I slipped into this experience of total, complete bliss. And I was able to, there was no experience of pain whatsoever, because pain is only located in the body. Outside the body, where the mind, the consciousness truly lives, is outside the mind. There is no pain. There's no sensation of feeling pain. All there is one feeling of expansion, of expandedness, of expanded awareness, expanded consciousness. That's all that I felt. And there wasn't emotional highs and lows in that space either. As I started to get distracted by the voices of the medics that were helping my body, I started to be able to observe that situation. And it was interesting because even though it was happening in my body, I was able to observe and see from the perspective of above my body. I was able to see the medics and to see my body on this stretcher, and I was able to even feel and experience the feelings of the medics. But no matter how much trauma they were or what they were doing to attend to the scene, and the guy that I went to the race with as well was in a state of emotion, I didn't feel or experience that emotion. All I felt and experienced was their thoughts neutrally. It was really interesting. And it was in a state of expanded consciousness. There are no highs and lows because everything is truly the same. And I think it's just pegged at the state of joy. Everything is observed from the state of joy. And so the medics that were helping my body and my body that was in all of this pain, and my ex-boyfriend at the time, who I went to the race with, we had just broken up, and there was all of that emotion there as well. I didn't feel any of that when I was in that state of that expansion, that what they call a near-death experience. But I didn't feel any of that. All I did was observed this beautiful, expansive feeling of oneness. And I was curious, or not even curious, I was just aware of the thoughts of the medics and what they were going through. But this is something that, going back to Raymond Moody, he had explained, and he explains on his website, which is called lifeafterlife.com, and I was interviewing him. This is several years after my accident, and I went to the website, and I saw these classic definitions of an NDE. I didn't really even know that's what I experienced until years and years later, that I had a, quote, near-death experience. All I had was the trauma from the brain injury, and I had a brain injury to recover from, and I had this fear when I got back into my body of, I can't remember anything, I can't hold down a conversation. Days and days go by where I stare out a window, and my business was failing. It was very scary at the time. There was a lot of fear that came in, and I had completely forgotten about this accident that I had, or this, not the accident, but the expansion, the expanded awareness that I had, until several years later when I was interviewing Raymond Moody, and I'll explain a little bit to how I got to that space. But when I was directed to his website to do the research for the interview, and he had, I don't even know if it's still up there, but 10 classic definitions of a near-death experience, and I had experienced all 10. And I freaked out. I went, this is what happened to me. This is
You're like, check. I've had that. Oh, boy.
I did this interview with him on Guy MTV when I first started the show there 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember the interview was so telling, was so revealing, and I wrote my book shortly after that because I realized, gosh, this is something that people need to know more about. And he had gone through thousands at the time. He'd only gone through, 3,000 or 4,000 interviews of people who had NDEs. I'm sure it's tripled by now. But of the experience of this beautiful expanded consciousness, once my brain was able to open up to those different, it had access to those different levels of consciousness and experience, it changed my view on everything. I
can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That was a long definition of everything that I've experienced. But I will back up a little bit to tell you after I did have this experience and went back, then I wound up getting airlifted to the hospital and wound up having to go through a long period of speech recovery and language recovery because I'd really broken the synapses in those areas of my brain between my that specific cortex of my brain that houses the language to my tongue, broke that synapse, and the memory centers were broken as well. So I lost a lot of function in my brain after that, and it was a long road to recovery. As I went through that, and I went through series of neurofeedback and EEG and all sorts of techniques that I still do today. Now I use the LED light therapy, which is amazing for reducing inflammation in the brain, and I have all sorts of supplements that I take now with B and all sorts of great supplements for brain. You should see my desk. I've got Brain Boost Renewal. I've got the super pill from I've got.
You probably really know what works and what doesn't, though, over all this.
I do. My gosh, PS 100. You should see my desk. But it's a constant process of keeping my brain reawakened every single day. It's a resetting process every single day. But what also helps me is that's why I started the radio show, and it was a series of synchronistic events that led me in that direction. I had lost the job that I was working in because I couldn't remember anything, and it was not a good experience. And I was taking meditation classes and developing your intuition. And as I was going through these meditation and intuition classes, I was really listening to my thoughts and my gut, but I was also communing with the divine. I was in close contact with that curious nature as to what I experienced in that near-death experience, and I knew that I was so close to God, or that there's another way of being, that I was having these great conversations and dialogue with the God of my heart. And as I was listening to that, a friend said, hey, you should check out this radio station. They're going out of business. Well, they were selling the station to a Korean network, but in the meantime, they had a lot of drive time spots that had opened up, so those hosts went on to find other jobs. And my friend said, why don't you just go and do a radio show there? Because I was working in television production prior to that. And I said, great. I'm going to interview all these great people who are helping me heal my brain. The acupuncturist and the teacher that I was taking the meditation classes from, and all these great people. And that's how I started doing the transformational media work, was because I wanted to let people know what was working and how I was able to truly heal my brain. And this whole experience that I had, I really wanted to continue to explore. So I started talking to people who had near-death experiences, or, Doreen Virtue, who was communicating with angels, and Wayne Dyer, who talked a lot about the power of intention, which was what I was essentially doing through the meditation and visualization that I was doing through the intuition work. So that's how I started doing all this. It was birthed from my own healing process, and it continues to be that today. If I don't broadcast for a couple of weeks, so if we were to go on a vacation or if I travel, I'll come back into it with my words flipped and slurring and
and I totally understand. A very dear friend of mine, she is now gotten to the point where she is again, but at the time of her accident, she's a chiropractor and a very successful one, and a daredevil. She used to jump out of planes. She's absolutely just, crazy. And she, of all things, she had a barbell snap, and the weight fell on her head, and she ended up with a traumatic brain injury.
Wow.
But I have to say, your book really gave her a lot of inspiration, because she was pretty down on herself. And it's so empowering to for other people, because there's a lot of other people out there that have had traumatic injuries or NDEs or both, and to hear what's working, hear about these experiences. It really shifted, because we met up and I said, you've got to get this book. We got to get this book for you.
That is so great to hear that. Yeah. And that's why you write a book, is because you take your story and experience and you just hope that it helps other people. That's the main thing I've learned from the brain injury, is the depression and the negative thoughts. It's almost like the positive center of my brain got damaged.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You start off your day every day with, oh, this is wrong, and how am I going to figure that out, and this, and it is amazing sometimes I actually get out of the bed. But I, have my routine set in the first hour of my day that, and I still struggled with this. This is 15 years later. But I have learned enough that through the first hour of my day, I have markers that I have set that I do, that I reliably know within 15 to 20 minutes this chemical is going to release, and in 20 more minutes this chemical is going to release. I know it so well. It happens every morning for me. So your friend, I totally understand the depression and how she would get through or have these experiences or hopeless feelings of, how am I ever going to do this again, or frustration or lack of memory. There's all of that is associated with brain injury. I get it. And I also get that it doesn't go away. And you have to reset your brain every single day. And I get that. And it's just something you have to embrace. And, you should see our house in the morning. I get up in the morning to take my daughter to school, and and I, my husband is so great, and he helps with making lunches and all of that stuff. I know that I'm going to wake up within 20 minutes of the, the time that I get out of bed, and I hit the gym right away, or I go on I know I need to exercise within the first 2 hours that I'm awake. Within 20 minutes of my exercise, my brain starts to wake up, my conversation starts to change, and I can literally feel my brain starting to come up with solutions for my day, organize, self-organize. My brain starts to self-organize as to what I need to do to solve this or look forward into the, momentum starts to happen. And it's a process that anyone can do. You don't have to go to the gym or ride a mountain bike. You can walk. You can sit on a stationary bike. Whatever you do, you need to move your blood so that it starts to release the neurotransmitters in the brain that start to connect and build bridges to allow your brain to start to function at a high level again. Anyone can do it.
Well, and you're going to love this. So now she's going back to reinstate her license right now for so she can hold her chiropractic license. And it really is, your book really, there are a few other things that happened as well, but your book really inspired her, because I was telling her, it's like, okay, Lisa's been through this. Check this out. There's life after traumatic brain injury. This isn't the end.
And it's also not only for people with brain injuries. This is for anyone that deals with depression or anxiety or any type of traumatic event in your life. It's a moment-by-moment process. People say you live day by day. There are some days I live hour by hour, and I just pick myself up in the next hour and say, okay, reset, and do something that's going to work. I'll even just walk outside around my backyard and then get back in or on my desk and start working again. There's several times that you can do that during the day and reset any situation that's going on, and including grief. This helps with grief as well. If you've lost a loved one, or if you're going through a severe breakup or a divorce, you can go through these little mini exercises every single hour if you need to bridge the gap to helping your brain release these neurotransmitters that help you reset and reorganize your brain. It's possible.
Yeah, and do you know what? And you're right. This your book and these techniques are for everybody, because just life happens.
Yes.
And we have to. It's like you have to there's many points where if I'm having a challenging day, I'll go and do some meditation or some visualization and reset everything and move things back around. And I thought your book was a really good example for people who, just like stress,
and also addiction. So what I talk about in my book is really getting a hold of being disciplined around your thoughts. So addiction is something where you cave in to that source of what you think is going to make you feel better. So it could be, a piece of chocolate cake. It could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be whatever. There's a moment, if you really pay attention to your thoughts, there's a moment of weakness that's usually preceded by a negative thought or a negative experience where somebody says something or your self-confidence gets shattered. And in that moment, you want to go to that default, which is whatever that addiction would be. That split second, if you're really, really keen and aware of your thoughts, and this really does take some practice, but if you can say, all right, well, that person just said that, it made me feel bad, and it made me want to reach for whatever it is that you're reaching for, or do this old pattern where I, go back to that old guy or that old pattern, right? You self-sabotage.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can be aware of that moment, and it is about awareness of that moment, and say, okay, here's what I want to do, and have a dialogue with yourself. Doesn't matter. Just talk to yourself in the car or wherever you are, and say, this is, I want to do this, and this is my old pattern. I'm going to consciously grab a hold of my thoughts and be disciplined and choose something different in this moment. Walk away, drive a different direction, physically take yourself out of the situation and put yourself somewhere new, change. And it takes that one tiny, tiny, tiny change. I'm not talking about getting in an airplane and flying somewhere. I'm talking about turning the car around, or instead of going to the refrigerator, walk outside. Some tiny little significant change will reset your entire direction in that hour. And then you do it again the next hour and again the next hour. That's when I say change is possible. And I say that it all happens in that moment of a choice. And that choice where you could either beat yourself up or fall back into an old pattern, or you can make one tiny change and move yourself in a whole new direction. Then you can say to yourself, okay, I did that. I did it. I conquered that moment. I had success in that moment. I can do it again, or I can do it again, and I can do it again. And those little moments start to string along and add up to significant change. And this all stems from my experience from having a brain injury, but I also know it applies across the board to anyone who's dealing with addiction or any type of life-altering decision. You can do it moment by moment. Even new patterns, exercise and so forth, you can change that into a new pattern, something that works for your life moment by moment. And that's what the awareness are in my book.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and that's perfect for the way that you have that, because, you would know about how to make those shifts and how to refocus, and what works and what doesn't as far as that's concerned, having, gone through it and lived it, and I love how it applies to, just about everything, because it is that repatterning. It's that, okay, if I'm stuck in this habit, it could be, like how you're saying, either chocolate or whatever, whatever's the habit. Maybe it's eating a bunch of chips or seeing an old boyfriend or whatever the deal is. But making those shifts, that's perfect, because it really does move people from, okay, I'm just going to drive to the same place, or I'm going to, walk over to the refrigerator and eat a bunch of ice cream, or whatever that thought process is,
And I have had the beautiful privilege of interviewing several, and probably about 50 neuroscientists. And really, not only have I done the interviews, but I've done the research around it. I've done their programs. So there's another, hundreds of hours into the brain research, which I really love because it's my passion. And I have learned through this repatterning, when you can actually interrupt the pattern and change and do something different, that it starts to form a little neural bridge in the brain. And I've seen this on this great video on Dr. Joe Dispenza's website, where he shows this video of a neural bundle in the brain, and it's a bundle of neurons that are firing and wiring together, little electricity tentacles. And when a new idea is introduced, a tentacle will reach over and start to fire and wire new ideas and new bundles, a new neuron bundle together, and that's what a new idea is. Well, slowly, the old bundle, the old group of neurons, start to form more and more tentacles that reach over to the new bundle of neurons, which is the new idea or the new pattern or the new habit. And eventually, enough tentacles that over to that new idea and new habit that the old bundle of neurons implodes and dissipates. and therefore the new habit is formed. And the more that you fire and wire the neurons towards that new bundle, the more ingrained that new habit becomes. So in the world of neuroscience, it chemically changes in the brain where old patterns dissolve and implode and dissipate and new patterns arise. And that's why I understand that will doesn't work, that you can't just think, you can't just say, all right, well, I'm going to think about this and I'm going to do it. You have to physically do it. You can do that also in a visualization if you do it enough times. I have this in my book. I put these QR codes where you can scan your phone across them. It takes you to visualizations that I've recorded in the book because I wanted people to experience this repatterning. But you go through it's like a 10 or 15-minute visualization process where you go up into a higher level of consciousness and you step into your dream realized, and you experience seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching that dream, and you spend enough time in that dream and you bring the feeling and the essence of the vibration back into your body now. And if you do that experience enough times, you can literally create a new bundle in your brain just through the visualization of it, and then you can start to refire that visual every moments throughout the day of where you visualize that number again, or visualize that healthy body again, or visualize that relationship again. You can just fire it and set anchors throughout your day and just reignite it throughout your day. And you can literally reform bundles in your brain that way. You don't even have to physically go out and get the job. You can imagine and visualize the new job and how you want it to feel, and the sensation, and all the way through all 5 senses, feel, hear, taste, touch, smell, all of your senses, several times throughout your day. And you start to, as Joe explains, send a protein through the body that sends out a frequency, a vibrational frequency, to attract that which is what you want, and it comes then into your field. And there's a whole body of science around this of visualizing, firing and wiring the brain together, sending the chemical frequency out throughout your body to the field, and attracting back in what you want. And this is how this is what Wayne Dyer taught about when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It goes through all of our great wisdom teachers of everything that has ever been talked about. There's now science behind how to create. And that's what's brain candy for me. I absolutely love that that's possible. Isn't it amazing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think we live in such a great time where science has really caught up with that, So for the people because I've got some friends that are scientists, and, one is actually, she's quite a dichotomy. She's an energy healer and a scientist, which is not usual. But most of them with that scientific brain, they want to be able to actually physically touch it, see it, quantify it for it to be a thing. Then they'll say, okay, this is a thing. But, now with science catching up in the way it is, I just find that so exciting.
Yes. And there's more and more that's coming out around the brain sciences, which is so great. And any book that comes across my desk with the word brain in it, I always I look at it and say, brain games. I like that one. I like, I just like the whole topic, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. And it's like, okay, so what new information does this hold? And, kind of take it and run from there. Because there is so much that's coming out in regards to that.
There definitely is.
I think Bruce Lipton he's a great example of somebody that, has really gone through the power of belief and, and how that all relates. And it kind of, comes back to your book, about being able to recreate. I mean, how exciting. We don't have to be stuck in these patterns that we've created. We can recreate new thought processes and new habits and new, any kind of patterns that we're wanting to develop that will support our higher purpose here.
I'm actually doing a whole weekend retreat with Bruce Lipton at Kripalu in June, and I'm so excited about this.
Oh my God.
I've known Bruce for years and decades, and he agreed to do this with me, and I'm really, truly honored. His work around the biology of belief and the cellular biology of positive thought has been it's the cornerstone of this entire movement of personal development, I believe. And as he speaks about this, the science and the cells and everything that he aligns around what I was just talking about, it's so fun to hear him talk about it because he's truly, he's a cellular biologist. Then I take the audience through the visualizations that then put into practice what Bruce had just taught. And I'm so excited about it. It's in June, and it's in Kripalu, which is in Massachusetts, and I'm really excited about this. It's on their website, the Kripalu website. So if people want to come, it's a 3-day retreat, and it's also a beautiful yoga center, and I'm excited because I've never been there, and people say that it's just breathtaking and rustic and a beautiful space to be able to really, truly change and transform. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm sure that's going to be a fabulous workshop to attend.
Yes. And it's also on my website, which is theawareshow.com. And also all the other platforms that I broadcast on are also on there. But I'm so excited about that. I'm going to learn. I'm going to sit in the audience the whole time.
Oh, my goodness. I interviewed him not long ago, and he's just so lovable. You just want to give him a hug.
Yes. Yeah, and he walks his talk. Isn't that great? He is that loving person.
I would agree with you 100%. He just is very authentic and just a joy to be around. So we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Lisa Garr, and you can visit her website at theawareshow.com. We'll be right back.
In 2012, after returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, Sean Gobin hiked over 2,000 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Recognizing the therapeutic effects of long-distance hiking, Sean founded Warrior Expeditions, a veteran nonprofit therapy program that supports veterans transitioning from their military service by hiking America's national scenic trails. Equipment and supplies are provided, as well as assistance with job placement. For more info or to help support these veterans, visit warriorexpeditions.org.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here with my very special guest, Lisa Garr.
I know that Mother's Day is just like right around the corner here. And so you do, I know you're a mom and you've, got
have
some
a mom.
tips.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mom, yeah. And, you have some tips for mothers on like how they can deal with stress during Mother's Day. Because I know for some people, they find it to be like a really stressful event, like there's a level of expectation that they need to do something or it needs to look a certain way.
Yeah, there's you want to be given to and you want to be in the space of receiving as a mother if your family wants to give to you, but then at the same time, and this is just a perfect example of what being a mother is, at the same time you need to take care of your mother and if your husband has a mother or, so it's just such an interesting juxtaposition as a mom. We're constantly in that place of giving and receiving. But I've been through this phase where I'm in a constant giving mode, give, and not in the receiving mode. And I learned a great, great lesson from Lisa Nichols once, an amazing motivational speaker and just a good friend. And I was, was a single mom, had $1.42 to her name when her son was a baby, and she's a wonderful example of what it means to achieve a certain level of success on her own and with the support of others. And she taught me a great lesson in giving and receiving. And I was talking to her at one point saying, I am a mom, and I was a new mom at the time, and it's take care of this person, take care of that, and take care of this other thing, and take care of work. And I was just giving all day, whereas at the end of the day I was empty and frustrated. And she taught me this. She said one day she went to her family and she said to them, I apologize for letting you think I don't need your help. I apologize for leading you to believe that I could do it all myself and I have a super cape on. I apologize for leading you to believe that because it's not true. I need your help. I need your support. Could you please help me with this? It's such a better way to approach your family than being resentful for doing it all on your own and becoming the martyr for it. And I use that to this day. I have such a great supportive family. My husband will, make my daughter's lunch. He'll have, he'll cook dinner sometimes. It's, we're all busy. We're all working, but we're a team in terms of sharing responsibilities around the house and with what we're doing in our lives. And I think it enables us to have a busy life but to not be completely maxed out by or run by the busy life. And as a mom, we have the tendency to take care of everyone else. It is the most empowering thing that you can do to say to your family, not just on Mother's Day will you, make dinner for me, but or to have breakfast in bed or whatever it is that, the families do on Mother's. Not just that day. Come on now. We need your help 364 other days of the year. And let's do this together. And sometimes because we are so capable as women and because we're bred and nurtured to be nurturers, we tend to put everything else in front of us or have this idea in our head of the way that things need to go. I needed to let go of a little bit of my perfect pictures of the ways that I wanted things to be. As a mom, sometimes we get this perfectionism, which you need to just let go of right now because it does not serve you.
It's that whole thing. It's like, we make plans and God laughs,
Right. Oh, absolutely. And it's so great. Things are not going to show up the perfect way that you want it to show up, and it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. Let go of your reins right now on that whole perfect picture thing because it is a waste of energy. It's a waste of time.
Well, it really allows you to then reshift your focus to being in the present moment and enjoying, what's happening around you, and then not having, unrealistic expectations of maybe things need to be or look a certain way.
Yeah, it goes along with everything, even with friendships. Moms and women in general, and this isn't just for mothers, this is women in general, are, we have a lot of different hats that we wear. We are the nurturer to many. We're a friend. We're a wife. We're a sister. We have a mother. We're a daughter. We have all of these different hats that we wear. We're business owners or employees or whatever it is that we do. We have all these different hats that we wear. And I learned this from Joan Borisenko. She said, there is no such thing as balance. let go of that concept right now. Balance is not achievable. You're not going to balance all of that in one day. Forget it. You're going to balance some of it one day and then a little bit more in another day and then some other pieces another day, but it's never going to happen all at once. So,
yeah.
that, sometimes, oh, God, I forgot to call that friend back, and I think about it a few days later. It's all right. Oh, I forgot to call my mom back from yesterday. I will get to that later on today. Sometimes I just got to put it in my calendar and set myself a reminder. When I'm going to school to pick up my daughter, it's a 30-minute drive. Call my mom. You just have to, it's not always going to happen all at once. So my advice out there to moms or women in general is to understand that balance happens on a day-to-day basis, but not all at once, and it's very liberating. It's a very liberating feeling. We don't have to do it all at once.
Well, and that's really nice to have it presented that way because, instead of trying to obtain this, this golden balance somewhere in the sky, you can really look at it more like, and I think what that ends up doing too is, we can sometimes be our own worst critic. So if it's like, oh gosh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and it kind of, eliminates some of that chatter.
Yes, of being hard on ourselves. And, sometimes there's, I forget to write the check to this person or to that person. It's late. It's okay. It's going to be all right. I don't know.
Yeah, the world is not going to stop spinning because of it,
Yeah, you deal with it, and hopefully there's no late fee and you can get around it. So there's piles of things that need organizing. It's definitely eventually going to get done. And I used to think it all needed to get done at once at one time, and it isn't.
Mhm. Well, it just puts things into a, it's okay. Today if you just get 3 things done on your list, or maybe even just one,
right.
It's 100% okay.
Right. Right. I think I've just let go in my old age.
Well, wait a minute. You're not that old, so I'm not going to buy that, okay? So, in fact, I think I might be older than you, so we don't do old age.
Old wisdom. Old wisdom. That's what it's
I'll take the wisdom part every day of the week. So.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. So, okay, well, that's a really, what a great tool that is, and something to remember, as moms are kind of getting their day together. What one thing would you want to share with mothers for this Mother's Day?
Here's something really, really fun to do. If you still have your mom around or not, and if you are a mom, instead of making it about brunch or food or whatever it is that you do, have a moment, have a gratitude moment. And if you can, it doesn't have to be a religious thing. You can just circle around or sit around a table and join hands if you want, or just have a moment of saying thank you. That will go so much further than any gift or anything, is if you just have a moment where you say thanks. Thank you to your mom, or if you're a daughter, say thank you to your mom, or just have a moment of gratitude. Even if your mom is no longer with you, to have a moment and say thank you for all that you do. That is one thing that all mothers would love. It's the greatest gift, is the gift of saying thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And to hear that is such a blessing, because we do give tirelessly, and we give more than we realize that we give quite often. And to hear the words thank you for all that you do is such a gift. It's such an amazing thing to hear and to say. So if you can have on this Mother's Day a moment of gratitude and a moment of thankfulness for, even if, life wasn't that great, or if there was a lot of a rocky childhood, just add in some forgiveness there, because your mother was most likely operating with the tools that she had at the time. And we have so many more tools now, and we would have done some things differently, and I get it. but to let go of that for the moment and just to say thank you for, providing a roof over my head, or sending me to school when I didn't want to go, or, being here for me later on in life or not, just for being a mother. Just have a moment of gratitude and add in some forgiveness for that moment, and it's very freeing, because nobody wants to go to their deathbed or have that person depart their lives with one moment saying thank you. It's something that you really want to do. I did that to Wayne, and of course, none of us knew Wayne was going to leave the planet.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Wayne knew, but I took a moment a couple weeks before he passed, and I just randomly called him, and I said, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done to support me and to be there for me and to laugh with me. And I just gave him a random gratitude call, and I'm so grateful that I did that. I had no idea he was going to depart so fast, because he was on a world tour and having an inspired, life, and he did exit pretty quickly. But I'm so grateful that I did that. I'm so grateful that I did that. I'm not sitting here saying, gosh, I had this thought to call him, and then he died. I'm not here sitting here with that moment right now. I made that phone call. So it's a really wonderful day if you're going to take that day and that moment, that opportunity to do that. I highly suggest it, no matter what the past is.
Well, and we never know when people are going to make a transition from this life. And so when we do get those hits to like, I'm thinking about somebody, I should give them a buzz and see how they're doing. Or, they could be going through a tough time, or maybe they just need to hear that thank you, and, because who wouldn't love to hear something like that? I mean, it would just, make anyone's day fabulous,
Mm-hmm.
So to have that time and to be able to reach out to whoever it is and just say, hey, thank you. And, and you're right about, moms operate with the best knowledge that they have at the time for whatever their belief and programming and thought process are, but just like they update cars, I mean, you no longer have your mom throwing her arm out to keep you from hitting the dash. I mean, they actually came up with seat belts that work better,
Right. Exactly. Right. They were operating with the tools that they had at the time. And
they totally were, and so, things get updated, and we can enjoy that. And, either they've gotten that information or not, it doesn't matter. Really, it's our job to just forgive and show up,
Yes, forgiveness is a huge, huge step. And it's something that could cause years and years and years of a lifetime, maybe, of resentment. And it's a process. You don't just forgive and say, oh, I forgive you now and it's over. I mean, it's definitely a process of understanding and maybe putting yourself in that person's shoes, or looking back to their past to see, what happened in their childhood that caused that person to do something that hurt or damaged you in some way. I think compassion and forgiveness go hand in hand. I think compassion has to precede forgiveness and also come after forgiveness. They definitely go hand in hand. It's interesting because, we all have, I think it's the nature of now that I know that at some point she's going to find some reason to be upset with me for something that I've done. And it's all a part of her human psyche needing to individuate. It's the separation. She's got to create it. She's going to create it at some point. And I hope that it's a gentle process, but she's got to find some reason and some way to separate and to individuate and to go through her own level of struggle on her own. And I'm sure there's something that I've done, as conscious as I've tried to be as a parent, and my husband too. There's something I've done that's going to have scarred her.
I don't know what it is. It just happens, And
it could be being a working mom. It could be, anything. Forcing her to eat kale.
Now that that would probably be pretty high in most people's charts.
It's gonna, in some ways, she's got to find a way to separate, and sometimes the way that we choose or find to do that is to find something wrong so that we could individuate. It's part of the human psyche. We did it to our parents, and there was probably really good reasons back then, and our children are going to eventually do it to us, but then come back around. They'll come back around.
Yeah,
do the same thing to their children.
and that's why I'm lucky that I'm auntie to many, because I have the really simple job of loving them up, sugaring them up, spending good time with them, and then giving them back.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Or you're the one that they go to when they're angry at their parents, right?
Yeah, yep. They're kind of like, I want to hang out with Auntie Marianne. I'm like, sure, no problem.
Right. And they talk to you about the good stuff, the juicy stuff. They're not going to talk to Mom about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I've got several of those aunties set up in my daughter's life, too, for when she needs to go through that experimenting. She doesn't want to talk to me about it. I got a lot of them set up around her.
Hey, you can never have enough aunties, as far as I'm concerned,
Exactly.
And it ends up kind of just making a nice little tribe or community or whatever you want to call it, but it's nice to have that support,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, and, I just have to tell you, your book, I love it, absolutely love it. And
Thank you so much, and I'm so grateful that it made a difference in your friend's life. And
oh my goodness, yeah, for sure,
as well.
Yeah, and I would agree and say that our listeners should definitely run out to store and purchase your book. And if they just want to order it online, I know you have it on Amazon. It's all over the place, so they can pick it up just about anywhere.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope that they do. And there are exercises in the book that allow you to go through these processes to truly make a change in your brain, to really, truly repattern your brain. So that's what I find. I love the how-to. It's one thing to talk about it, but I really love giving people the opportunity to go through the experience to make the true change happen. I don't want to just talk to people. I want people to be able to have the opportunity to do it. And that's why I wrote the book.
Well, your book is definitely a roadmap for people to be able to make change today,
Yes.
And it's got tools in it that they can use. I would highly suggest our listeners also go to your website, which is theawareshow.com, and they can see all the great events you have, of course, with Bruce. I know you've got a cruise coming up, and you've got an event also with Anita Morgiani that's happening as well. Lots of good stuff.
Yes. And on Thanksgiving of this year, Anita and I are going to do a 5-day workshop in Costa Rica, and it's going to be a wonderful time just going through what she and I share together through our near-death experience. We've come out with this language from the other side, and that language creates incredible change in people. We've discovered it through a series of interviews that we did together, and we discovered that we could complete each other's sentences and put words to experiences that we hadn't been able to put words to before. And the healing that it causes is so incredible. It's a field that we create when we speak together, and other people experience the same and start to go through transformation and healing in that space. It's going to be an incredible retreat. So that
sounds like fun. Sign me up. I'll be there. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So have your Thanksgiving with your family the week before, and then come with us to Costa Rica.
Oh, you know what? I like that plan. That is a good plan.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, thank you for being on the show today with us, Lisa. I so appreciate your time and, being on the show and sharing your experience and your, book and all this great information with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really had a great time. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you, Lisa. That was so much fun. If you'd like to check out Lisa's website, you can go to theawareshow.com. I'd like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.